Afternoon, everyone. My name is Gabriel. We are going to discuss, of course, the number one thing that we want to lead any show with. We are going to discuss the emerging story of Joey Chestnut and his latest push, his latest emphasis on his partnership, not with the Nathan's hot dog eating contest, not with Nathan's hot dog. Also, Shams firing back. A lot of people were dunking on him. Not here though. We were 100% on the side of Shams and calling out the baloney, calling out the indignities that were being thrown out against him or at him. I mean, we called the baloney when we saw it, and Shams is doubling down. Shams is also letting the world know that no, he has credible sources who aren't just using this Lakers thing as a only for leverage. I don't know. You get what I'm saying. Either way, Shams is doubling down. But first, Aaron Rodgers OTA, just OTAs in general. So when we are analyzing OTAs, and I'm not sure what that voice crack was about right there, but either way, when we are analyzing OTAs, there's not a whole hell of a lot that you can take from them in terms of football. In terms of will this team be successful or not? And I say that because, in large part, you should be looking good in 7-on-7. You should be looking good in the non padded practices. So, one of my favorite activities is to go through each and every year. One of my favorite activities is to go through all of the people who say, eh, I think I think so and so is going to have a good year. Why? Oh, because he caught a pass. He caught a pass in June. Doesn't really tell me too much. Oftentimes, the drills are made for whichever position group is being targeted, for whichever position group is being worked on for the day. Oftentimes, the drills are set up for certain position groups to succeed. And for sure, the defense, which is already inherently at a disadvantage, the defense can't oftentimes, I'm not saying it all the time, not saying exclusively, but the defense oftentimes isn't allowed to go full throttle. We all see this and we all see them pull up. And we don't know, for example. So when I say oftentimes a position group is chosen or is put in a favorable position to succeed, right? Oftentimes in these kind of drills, it's like, okay, if you're the safety, hold give it a 3 Mississippi count and then go. And then on the flip side, the corners will see the same play. They know what the offense is working on, and they'll be able to jump the route. So, unless you for sure truly know either what's being worked on, what's being addressed, or you know what was being told to the players right beforehand, or you see the flow of practice, it's impossible to evaluate anything from it's impossible to evaluate anything from OTAs. But do you know what's not? Do you know what we can do? Do you know what we can analyze? Um, why Aaron Rodgers and Hassan Reddick aren't there? That's something. That's something that we could spend a little time on. So it's being reported straight from Robert Saleh that Aaron Rodgers and Hassan Reddick are not excused for missing today's minicamp. And the reason they gave was because Aaron Rodgers had something had a previous engagement essentially that was quote very important to him. And Robert Saleh didn't seem too concerned. He seemed pretty level headed. And it must be stated that Aaron Rodgers was seen fresh off his torn Achilles. When I say fresh, right, it happened about, what was it, about 5 minutes into his Jets debut. Looking good, slinging it out there. But Robert Saleh didn't seem too concerned. So technically, is Rodgers subject to a fine? Yes, absolutely. But not looking too likely at the moment. They seem to be unconcerned, but this is what happens when you have someone who often brings a lot of unwanted attention to himself. So this isn't the media grasping at straws. This isn't fans going crazy. First of all, it's New York. Even if you are the Jets, shout out to the Giants. Even if you are the Jets and are the second best football team in the city, and I don't know where I'd rank in terms of teams in the city. Uh, New York Jets, off the top of my head, without even putting too much thought into this. 1, 2, 3. I'll put you at best fourth, the fourth best team in the city. At best, fourth. You're still in New York, and you still know kind of the deal of being a New York team, right? But especially for someone like Aaron Rodgers, who has gone out of his way to create certain stories and to bring attention to himself. Some wanted, some unwanted, some valid, some not valid. By now, you need to have something a little more substantial ready. And if I was running the New York Jets, for example, and I truly did know that Aaron Rodgers was going to miss, I would have had a statement beforehand so that this is a complete non-story. Or or let's live in a world where not everyone tells the truth. If Aaron Rodgers kind of short-sighted people and Aaron Rodgers just woke up and didn't and said, "Hey, I'm not showing up today for whatever reason," and didn't tell anyone, I would have something else a little better in my back pocket. Then it's something important to him. You could tell a pretty vague general lie. And again, this is then a complete non-story. Now, is this a non-story regardless? Sure. But you could have something along the lines of he needed a day off because of his Achilles. Today was the focus wasn't on him and he wants to work on something else. Right? You could have something ready. You know that this is a likelihood with Rodgers at this point. So at this point, the onus is on you to plan, and the onus is on you to own the message and to get ahead of the story. Because if you let the media, if you let others control the narrative, it just makes you look bad. And more or less everyone on the social media is dunking on them. The media in New York. I'm not in the city right now, but I'm gonna go ahead and bet that it's going to be something along the lines of what's going on with the Jets. This shows complete ineptitude, right? It's going to be something along those lines. That's already right off the bat what 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 I'm guessing is being said, and I'm not even looking, but right, we all know what you get by having Aaron Rodgers on your team. And you more or less put up with it because it's Aaron Rodgers, a recent MVP, really great quarterback when healthy, still appears to be able to sling it. But this is something that you should not only expect, anticipate, but have something a little more substantive planned for. Now, in terms of Hassan Reddick, he too was not there. And I guess this has been a thing. So reportedly, he has had zero contact with Robert Saleh since being traded to New York. And he's another player that he's looking for a contract. He views himself how he views himself given the position, given the landscape, and he feels he's owed something, and he's apparently more than willing to hold out for it. Now, are you overreacting? Are you too worried if it is, considering it's right now? Maybe not. Maybe not, right? There's time. But if true, it's a really bad sign that he's not even A, in the building, and B, unwilling to talk with coach. That's a bad sign. That's not a good start. Let's compare that with Matthew Judon and his hold in. First of all, the fact that it was a hold in, he felt that he had outperformed his contract. He still showed up and he just laid it straight out there. He says, "Hey, I think," and I don't remember the exact quotes, but more or less, this is going to be a very rough paraphrase, but more or less, he said, "Hey, I feel like I did outperform my contract. I feel like I'm owed a little bit more. Nothing but respect for Bill Belichick and the franchise. So I'll continue to support the boys, but we need to sit at the negotiating table again." And then any further questions are, letting my agent handle this. Easy, done. We all move on with our lives. They get the deal done, and it's a complete non-story. But what this shows, the Aaron Rodgers situation shows, is that Robert Saleh doesn't have the respect of the locker room. Robert Saleh is incomplete, has zero control, and Robert Saleh is not a good manager / head coach. So Jordan says Reddick is just contract negotiations, and Rodgers is just a drama queen being in control. Yep, absolutely. And so the man, quote unquote, in charge is not equipped for this situation at all. And again, maybe it's unfair that I'm comparing Bill Belichick to Robert Saleh, but you get what I'm saying here, hopefully. Not just you, Jordan, but everyone else listening. And I just picked the Matthew Judon hold in situation because that's what I'm a Pats fan, so leave me alone. I've suffered enough post our Super Bowl runs, plural runs. Shout out Drake Mace, the future. But anyway, right? It's not so much that Reddick is looking for, is trying to play this game in terms of contract negotiations, right? That's fine. We see that all the time. But Robert Saleh, again, you now know that this is a distinct possibility. The words that can't come from your mouth is, "Oh, I had no idea," or "Yeah, I'm totally unaware of what's going on." Right? You need to have something better prepared if you're the coach. You need to get ahead of the narrative. And that is something the Jets are far too reactionary. And just like Jordan says, The Jets knew what they signed up for, and I think that's in regards to it. Could be in regards to both, but I think that's more in regards to Rodgers in this case. Yes, you did. And so you literally know all of the landmines. You literally know what the issues are going to be. So you can't then go to the podium and say, I guess he's not here today. Huh. Yeah, I found out when you did. I was just surprised as everyone else. That can't be what we hear. That can't be what we get. Jordan? New York sports expert. Go ahead, Jordan.
Yeah. I'm gonna try and get this in. Okay, I'm trying to make it quick before I get the train home. Well, not home, but like to 125th because like it's gonna be a couple of tunnels. But yeah, this season has to go right for the Jets because if none of it goes right, if they go at least 1-4 or it's over for them. Like they're gone. So, like I said, Sal and Douglas are gonna be gone if everything goes wrong. Because you have Aaron Rodgers not showing for OTA. You have Reddish contract negotiation. His trade it's gonna be a complete disaster. Like you have the all in moves of Mike Williams and freaking Iwan Smith. Like it's gonna be a complete clown show, and I'm gonna bring up the popcorn for all of it because it's gonna be funny.
Yes. And Jordan, we count on you to keep our clown show references up. So thank you for coming on here.
No problem. No,
Hopefully I hope we
no
get
problem,
to
man.
have you on a little bit later too. But if not, no worries,
Sure.
no worries.
Yeah.
Um,
No. Yeah, and for you, it's probably gonna be a normal season just watching it. So yeah.
I hope so.
Mhm.
Uh, but yeah, that is all I wanted to talk on the New York Jets. You know, we will take every chance we get to dunk on them. Let's move on.
Mhm.
Shams fires back.
Oh boy.
I don't know. I don't know if you saw, but
I don't think I did.
Shams is taking the rounds now, and he's saying no, it's a lie. My reporting is true, and we all know this is about the big beef between him and Woj. But he's saying absolutely not. Dan Hurley was not the primary guy, and he's doubling down on what his reporting is, and he's saying his sources are legit, and that this was a last second scramble.
Mhm. It's like
That's what he said this morning. What's your take?
it's like a bad bet. Like you don't admit you're wrong. Just double down, triple down, you ultra mega down because like my dude, stop. Like okay, Dan Henry didn't take the job. Now you're doing a victory lap. That's fine, but like trying to get on Woj, really? Come on.
Oh, I hear your train coming.
Yep. I'm gonna be out for the rest of it. All right, I'll see you.
All right, see you, Jordan. Thanks for hopping on. I love Jordan, just in general what he said there. To be clear, here at Curious Sports Pulse, we are in favor of people taking their victory laps and dunking on people. In fact, we'd like to see more of people dunking on each other from Jason Tatum, for example, but that's beside the point. Where am I saying with this? I have been consistent, ladies and gentlemen. I have said from the beginning that the Woj bomb uh, would blow up in his face. No, but I've been consistent in saying that the report from Woj was just the Lakers scrambling. I've been consistent in saying that I didn't believe it, and I've been consistent in saying that it just doesn't make any sense. So I am siding with Shams on this specific topic, on this specific issue. And luckily, we'll know who was right in 2026 when everything gets leaked. But it just didn't make sense to me. Thanos Heisenberg says, "Oh, you're on Twitch. Shout out to you." Who is drafting Bronny? I mean, everyone views him, from what I've been reading, Thanos Heisenberg. Love the name, by the way. Everyone that I've read slash have been reading is indicating that Bronny is at best a second round pick, but that he really would go undrafted if it weren't for his name. But that shouldn't be confused that a lot of people do see him as a legit pro prospect. Just that he would more likely than not be either a late second round or a um, rookie free agent. I say all that to say, except the Lakers. The Lakers reportedly, and I forget who said this, so pardon me, but the Lakers reportedly are considering using their late first round pick. Off the top of my head, you can fact check me, anyone. But off the top of my head, I believe they have the 18th overall pick in the upcoming draft, and they are strongly considering using that on Bronny. I don't see anyone else trading up or making sure that that the Lakers don't get Bronny at 18, and I believe it's 18. Let's just say first round for now. I don't see anyone else making sure that the Lakers don't get Bronny that early, and everything indicates right there, especially with this latest coaching fiasco. To me, that indicates even more that Bronny will be will be playing in Los Angeles. Will be a Los Angeles Laker, I should say. Did you know there are two teams in Los Angeles, the Clippers? So you have to specify. But anyway, because of that, who else is going to draft up? Who else sees Bronny in this big, bright, shining light where they'd want to give up capital, where they'd want to, and even if you don't give up capital, let's say you're a higher pick than where the Lakers are at. Who would be willing to give up that pick, a position that right? There's always fall off after, depending on the draft year. There's always drop off. There's always drop off after, for sure, once you exit the lottery. But if we're being real, on average, I would say after pick 5, you see significant drop off. So I say that all that to now say, who else is going to give up a really prime position pick for Bronny at this point? Or at best, I think if we're being honest, you'd say he's a prospect, he's a talent who could be a solid NBA contributor one day. But considering everything that happened with the Lakers, there's too much. There's too much pointing in that direction. There's too much good that can come from drafting Bronny. That's why I don't see any other possibility except the Los Angeles Lakers. And don't be surprised if it's in the first round. And now he says, as a Mavs fan, oh, that's nice. Good for you. I'm a Spurs fan. We did not make the playoffs this year, so good for you. As a Mavs fan was telling me his wishes for next year after going down 0-2, he said LeBron opts out of his final year and goes to the Mavs, and then they draft Bronny mid-round first. Okay, so now that would be, for example, a scenario that would change the equation entirely. And oh, a Mavs fan was okay, my bad. I misread it. You're right. You're right. My bad. Either way, that would be an interesting scenario. And I'm not. Suffice to say, I don't see that at all. We can comment on that in a moment, but let's first comment on what we actually know. Rich Paul of Clutch Sports has said that that LeBron James will be a free agent, and I think people misinterpreted that. I think people misheard that or misread that to mean that LeBron James would go somewhere else. No, all that means is that he's a free agent and that he will sign a new deal. That's all that means. So staying with the Lakers is still the most likely option. But Rich Paul saying that to me also indicates they're very much open to hearing offers. They're very much open to seeing better fits. And it's clear, everyone knows that LeBron wants to play with Bronny. It would be cool. That talk about we use the term once in a lifetime way too often. Now this is truly once in a lifetime. This is truly something that we will likely never see again, where a father is able to play with his son in the NBA. Now that is truly once in a lifetime. So regardless of what your thoughts on LeBron is, that is something that's cool. Even if you want to argue that the opportunity, the chance that Bronny is being given isn't entirely earned, he's good enough where a team would be willing to reach on him either in the late second round or as an undrafted rookie, and where right, he's definitely good enough where you could see a team keeping him on the bench and developing him and saying why not. So I want to dispel this whole narrative that it's nepotism or that it's completely unearned. I disagree with that. Just obviously his name helps, and that's how life works. But anyway, let's go with this now. Him going to the Mavs. Well, for sure, whatever team, and it depends what domino falls first, right? The LeBron contract situation or the NBA draft. That'll depend. We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, let's pretend that I'm wrong. I know, very hard to imagine, but let's pretend that I'm wrong, and we say, and right, the draft is in a couple weeks, so we should be getting some closure. We'll be getting some closure one way or another soon. Let's say that a different team who is not the Lakers uses one of their picks and gets Bronny. Say like a Phoenix Suns, for example, or even the Dallas Mavericks. That would be wild. Let's say that that happens. Of course, one of the potential moves is for LeBron to then go join that team, depending on the situation. I don't think he'll join a complete rebuild, even if his son is. Let's just for argument's sake, like if Bronny is drafted by the Pistons for whatever reason, just bear with me here, and right, it just works like that on draft night. Either they use one of their picks, or later on they move up from one of their later draft positions and take a Bronny, or Portland does, or something like that. I don't think that's enough where LeBron James would say, "Yeah, sign me up for the Little Caesars Arena." I don't see that. But if it's a team that's a little closer, and more importantly, a team that truly needs him, I could see it. So, for example, if the Boston Celtics used a second round on Bronny, that wouldn't make sense in any aspect for LeBron to then go there, right? And I say all that to say it doesn't make sense to me to have LeBron James, Luka Doncic, and Kyrie Irving on the same team in Dallas. Because you have two people already that need the ball in their hands. And let's be real, no matter how much LeBron says that he wants to play off ball, you are who you are at a certain point. And he's still a top player in this league, a top distributor in this league, and ball handler, even from his point, even as a point forward. Where just I don't see that working out. So teams need to be wary if they elect to get Bronny and they want to use that as lack of a better term bait to bring in LeBron James. If that were to happen, it's far more likely that LeBron James makes an independent free agency move And then the next year, when Bronny is a true free agent, more likely than not, it makes sense then that they would team up in that kind of scenario. Because in other words, I say all that to say, just because a team drafts LeBron James, just because a team likes Bronny, I don't I don't see that as the most. I don't see that as a given in terms of the two teaming up. And it still would be cool, even if they aren't on the same team. It still would be really cool to see. I mean, father and son playing in the NBA at the same time. But that's my breakdown of it. And then and then free agency starts technically at the end of June. But we all know there's jockeying for position at the moment. And right, so we have the draft at the end of the finals, and then we have free agency shortly thereafter. So it's all around the same timeline. But either way, the dominoes will soon fall. We will have our closure here in a moment. Mr. Thanos Heisenberg goes on to ask, who do you think is the best player in the draft? Really good question. And I'm someone who I enjoy Euroball. I enjoy FIBA. So obviously, a lot of people are saying Alexander Sarr. Um, and then the other international guy, is that Zakir Risache? I think that's how you say it in French. Um, between those two players, I, I wonder how likely it is for there to be a second Victor Wembanyama type impact from someone of that frame. And so that's why I think people may be right. They saw Victor Wembanyama, they saw the impact that he had, and I think they're probably a little too high on Alexander Sarr. Now, is it possible that you have two back-to-back international prospects of that frame that can have an immediate impact? It's possible. I'm going to go ahead and say probably not, though. So for sure, I'm not saying he's going to be a bust. I'm saying I think we need to have more reasonable expectations for Sarr. So between those two guys, I like Risa Shea a little better build, and a little better 3-point shooter. So for the league where it's at right now, at 6'8", I would say that's pretty good. And you get a little bit of a better fit where he's not going to have to guard opposing centers. He's not going to have to go Embiid. So if you're asking me who goes number one, of course I'm going to say Sarr is, but that's just because he's the number one favorite to go number one. I think Risache, and I'm butchering the pronunciation of that, so pardon me, but I really think that guy Zakir Risache, I think he's going to have a better more immediate number year one impact, rookie impact. Now between Reed Shepard, Ron Holland, Cody Williams, Rob Dillingham, I have been on the record and I have been singing his praises. First of all, let's include who's not going to have a good rookie year. Kyle Filipowski. He's too slow laterally for me, and I don't like his low post presence. I just don't. I think he's a little overhyped, and he was taking advantage of the size difference and skill level in college, but I don't see that translating well at the NBA level. Who do I like from the Americans? Who I think will have a big day one, year one rookie run? Who I think is right now being overlooked? Dalton Connect. His skill set translates a little better in terms of an immediate impact. Now, I'm not saying who I think will have the better career. I'm saying who I think will have an immediate better day one / year one impact. Dalton Connect. And I prefer players who have had time where we see them develop, where they've had good run time in college, and you're a little bit more mature when you enter the league. More times than not, all the people that get the hype, all the players that are for sure going to hit, when they're younger, they just take time to develop if they develop. So Dawn Connect right now projected. I'm gonna look at this. But I'm gonna oh, if you look at that, Dawn Connect is projected to be around the 15th spot. Some have them a little higher, some are obviously a little lower. But the Miami Heat getting Dalton Connect, for example, Philadelphia 76ers, the Pelicans. I would really like that. It doesn't matter. Regardless of whoever ends up getting Dalton Connect, I think is going to get a steal because he's going to fall, mostly because of his age. And I'm not too worried about on the defensive end because perimeter defending at the NBA level is hard for almost everyone. And if we're being honest, if we're looking at the all NBA defensive team, a lot of those players, it's not exactly the who's who of scorers, right? So for anyone criticizing his scoring inability or his defensive inability, sure, it's something he needs to work on. But let's be real. Let's be real. This is an offensive league first, so I'm not too worried about it. The fact that he can go get a bucket, the fact that he can be a mismatch problem already at his size and current skill level, I really think people are sleeping on Dalton Connect. But that's just how I view things. All right, moving on. We have hot dog business. Appreciate you, Mr. Thanos Heisenberg, for chiming in right there on the Twitch. But we have one more important topic of note. Nathan's hot dog. I should probably contest. There we go. Um, just Nathan's hot dog. Although, so we all hear the story. Joey Chestnut, for all intents and purposes, will not be competing in Coney Island this year. The reign of supremacy, the reign of dominance, barring a twist, barring a very big twist, is over for Joey Chestnut. And this is something of a story that almost saddens me. And why? Because every 4th of July, I was so used to, and I was always looking forward to the hot dog eating contest. And why? We never tuned in to see if Joey Chestnut would win, but we always tuned in to see by how much. And it's quite a feat. It's something that looks like it could be easy until you try to speed eat a hot dog and you realize how gross it is to dunk bread in water and try to eat it. I almost gagged right there just thinking about it. But Joey Chestnut, and this is who wrote this article? This is a report from David Purdom on ESPN. First of all, I love how it's Major League Eating, the MLE. I'll admit I took a quick glance and read the MLB, and I initially thought, why is the MLB commenting on this? I'll admit that's what first happened for me. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. According to the spokesperson from the MLE, Chestnut is going to represent another hot dog brand. Nathan's hot dog, of course, and we all know that it's Impossible Foods. And yeah, that I would say that's probably something of a um I would definitely say that's something of a I almost said contradiction and I can't think of the word right now. That's something a conflicting interest. 100% it is for Nathan's hot dog. But this is obviously more important to Joey Chestnut. This is something that he must believe in. And he wants to move forward with the Impossible Foods. And on one hand, you have to admire it because it's something that he believes in. You know he's set for life if he continues with Nathan's hot dog. You know he's set for life if he continues to compete in this competition. He blows the competition out of the water each and every year. And even if he were to start losing, just the aura of Joey Chestnut would be enough. Or I think if he were to even start losing in retirement years, people would want to see him in Coney Island every 4th of July just to see if he still got it. However, he's moving on. He wants to do what he sees as best and what he believes in. So the Impossible hot dogs, of course, plant-based, not a hot dog, and I'm not particularly fond of them. There are some good plant food or plant-based right meat alternatives. Uh, in general, I think it's fair to say they're hard to find, and I don't particularly care for them. But him moving on with this with this quote new sponsor. I love how they can't even say the name. But this is obviously something that they would have made clear to Joey. And this is just something where Joey said, "Yeah, I know what the ramifications are. I know what happens if I move forward with these forever hot dog whatevers. But that doesn't matter to me. I would rather represent these guys. I'd rather move forward with these guys, and I'd rather take a chance." Yeah, I mean it's. I've always made this point, and this will get people angry on the other side of this. I've always made this point that I've never once, while eating a hamburger, for example, thought to come up with a burger based alternative for my vegetables. So I think it's an odd move where you're almost trying to trick the public into liking your product. And if it's for morals, right, you're trying to say this is just my opinion, right? If it's for morals, why you want to have only vegan based or plant based alternatives, then why are you using the meat substitute or why are you using the meat framework as part of the selling point, right? I just think that's odd. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. It's two different things entirely, two different food items entirely. And so this is where it comes to Joey Chestnut is saying he wants to proceed with these guys, but you knew, and he for sure knew, that if this happens, then this happens. So he wants to proceed with the forever hot dogs, the plant-based hot dogs, fine. And again, in my opinion, it's odd that they're called plant-based hot dogs because then your expectation is that, well, it tastes just like a hot dog, and more times than not, it doesn't. It just flatly doesn't. But that's neither here nor there. And if you don't eat hot dogs, That's probably good. That's probably really good for you because we all know what's in a hot dog at this point. But that doesn't stop me. I will say, if you want a good hot dog alternative, bratwurst. All right, I didn't say a good meat alternative. I said a good hot dog alternative. I love a good bratwurst, but again, that's neither here nor there. He knew, and everyone involved in this knew, that if Joey Chestnut truly changes sponsors, that it's a complete conflict of interest. And so, if you're asking who's in the wrong, no one's in the wrong. Joey Chestnut wants to continue with the Impossible Foods, and Nathan's famous hot dog can't have the number one attraction, can't have the number one guy be sponsored with not just a corporate competitor, but a philosophical competitor. That can't happen. That would be odd to say the least. So no one's in the wrong. And if we're being real, maybe Joey Chestnut is just done, is tired of winning. He's done it 16 straight times. Maybe he just wants to move on to this next focus, this next emphasis in his life. Fair enough. More than fair. But I do think the MLE was gracious in saying, and this is a quote from that report I mentioned earlier, Joey Chestnut is an American hero. We'd love nothing more than to have him at Nathan's famous international hot dog eating contest, which he has dominated for years. We hope that he returns when he is not representing a rival brand. So I thought that was class. I thought that was a good way to make a clear stance, make it clear this is why we can't have this, while also not antagonizing and while also celebrating everything that Joey Chestnut had done for him, for himself, really for a lot of Americans who look forward to it. And shout out to if you're listening at Know Your Muffs Joe. He brought up a point that I think resonates with many, and he said, "Shout out to everyone who's been coming in second place all these years. They now stand a chance." Yeah, and this could end up proving to be a good pivot because truthfully, I have no idea. I don't follow competitive eating. I just know of Joey Chestnut. So this could be a good pivot to help build the brand and to maybe expand a little bit so that it's not just known as the Joey Chestnut Invitational. But in the back of our minds, we're always going to think, but Joey Chestnut. Until someone eats 60, 70 dogs, we're always going to have it in the back of our mind. Yeah, but Joey Chestnut could easily outdo these guys. But for now, that's all we have. Shout out to Jordan for joining us earlier as he was coming home on the subway, giving us his thoughts on the New York Jets. Shout out to Know Your Muffs Show. Shout out to Thanos Heisenberg. Appreciate you tuning in. That's all we have. We are going to be back regular scheduled 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time moving forward here at Curious Sports Pulse. But until then, have a great rest of your day.